Hello, Abnormal Investigations. I've got an encounter for you today. Wanted to remind you all that the 13th Travis Carpenter will be on the show. It's going to be a great show. We're going to continue with the series, the DNA, and the conspiracy behind it. Also, coming up on the 20th, we're going to have a special guest on. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot will be joining us for a live podcast. So make sure you mark that on your calendars or go over to the live thumbnails and comment in them and select notify. A lot of people's been saying they're not getting alerts that when we go live. One way to fix that, YouTube said, is to unsubscribe, subscribe right back, hit the bell, select all. If you miss 3 notifications, then it will no longer notify you again. They said it can be 2, so I don't even know if they know, but that is one way to do it, is when you get notified, is to at least go into the show and then leave if you have to, and it will keep you on the notification list. All right, guys, I've got this encounter for you, so we'll go ahead and jump into it. I'm a little late on this Saturday. My grandpa only told the story when it stormed. Not just a little rain either, I mean real storms. Thunder that shook the house, lightning that turned the living room white from a half a second. Nights when the wind howled down the chimney and made the lights flicker like they were thinking about going out. That's when he'd say, "Go stoke the fire, boy. I've got a story to tell you." It always started the same way. My mother, your great grandmother, told it to me. Said it really happened to her father back when he was a boy, right here in New England, long before we were born, long before the world forgot how to look over its shoulder. He'd sip his tea, eyes on the flames. They had a cat, see, a beautiful old thing named Merca. And one spring she had kittens, 5 of them. One of them was black, not dark gray, not smoky black, like shadows with teeth. And he loved those cats. He'd always look at me here just to see if I was still listening. She wasn't wrong, he'd say. And then the story would begin. They lived in a blue house near the woods in a quiet New England town that didn't know how to, or he says, I didn't know how to pronounce the name of it really, but I believe it was Petrovsky. So most folks just called them the Russians. It was a happy house for the most part. Misha, the father, taught me math at the community college. His wife, Galina, baked bread that made neighbors linger at their mailbox longer than they had to. And their son, a 10-year-old, Alexei, with their hair like black straw and a gap in his teeth, was the kind of boy who could go talk about bugs without squashing them. He loved them. And then there was Marka, the fat, long-haired tabby cat who ruled the house with a yawn and a tail flick. She had been with them since Moscow, hidden in Galina's coat. When they left everything behind, Mirka had outlived 2 apartments, a snowstorm that knocked out the town's power for 8 days, and the birth of little Alexei. So when Mirka grew round with kittens, it felt like a small miracle. They were born on a quiet Tuesday in April under the radiator by the piano. 5 kittens, 4 striped and cream-colored, and the one last born, who was the color of spilled ink, its fur drank light, its eyes opened earlier than the others. The family adored the little thing and the whole litter. Galena dotted on them with saucers of milk. Misha built a little fort from cardboard and towels to allow them to play. But Mother only looked at the black one and crossed herself. She muttered, shaking her head, "You keep that one. Bad things come, just like with your uncle, just like before." They laughed. Baba Galina said, "It's a kitten, not a demon." But Babushka never looked in its eyes. Alexei picked the black kitten. Of course he did. He named it Neeks, after a goddess of night he had read about. "Because she's brave," he said. "She's not afraid of anything." Babushka stopped sitting in the living room after that. She started keeping dried herbs in the pockets of her sweater. It started with small things. Alex's hamster cage unlatched itself in the night. The hamster was never found. A neighbor's dog, a yappy Pomeranian that barked at the wind, was found 2 days later with his neck broken, curled in the driveway. No one could explain how it had happened. And Neeks, so tiny, so delicate, was always asleep during these events. She's just a kitten, Galena would say, brushing her fingers over the soft shadow dark fur. She couldn't hurt anything. But the lights in the hallway flickered when Neeks walked by. Alex's nightmares returned. He dreamed of a tall thing with two long fingers sitting at the edge of his bed, whispering in a voice that sounded like wet leaves. Misha began to lose things: his glasses, his keys, and his temper. Babushka stopped laughing. She burned sage in the garage and painted old symbols on the door frames. Too late, she muttered. You should have drowned it. One night, Alexei woke up screaming. When they ran into his room, he was curled up in the corner, bleeding from scratches across his chest. She was on me, he cried. Her mouth, opened too wide. They turned, expecting to see Neeks. She was sitting in the windowsill, tail flicking, eyes wide and empty, just watching. Misha said it is time. They wrapped Neeks in a towel. Galena wept. Alexei wouldn't look. They told themselves she'd go to a farm or a shelter, something kind. But Babushkin said, no, there's only one way. They followed her deep into the woods behind their house to an old ring of stones, older than the town, older than anyone could remember. I knew it when I saw her, Babushka said. She's not a cat. She's a vessel. She wears a cat's face, but what's inside is older and hungrier. They left her there in the stone ring. Babushka murmured a prayer with the words no one else understood. The wind screamed once, and then it was still. They walked home without speaking. Merkin never had kittens again. Alexei stopped having nightmares, but sometimes when the wind is wrong and the moon is full, the lights in the house flicker. And Galena swears she hears purring just beneath the sound of the wind at the window. And once a year later, Alexei found a tiny paw print on the inside of her bedroom window, of his bedroom window. Sorry, guys, it's written in, I think, maybe a little bit of a different language, so I'm doing my best. From the outside, the glass was clean, so we knew that the kitten or the cat had gotten in at least somehow. Sleep tight, little one, he'd say then, and don't let the black kittens in. We all said that was not a funny joke. The cat hasn't came back, and I'm thinking about going back to that old well to see if she's still in there, if the spell really kept her there. I'm not sure what to think. What do you all think? Well, we know from experience that animals can absolutely be possessed, and I don't know that the cat was possessed when it was born. I believe, that could be a possibility, but it sounds like Grandma had a few things of witchcraft that she was doing, and I'm not sure that Grandma isn't really the problem that caused the problem with the cat. I think Grandma had superstitions that went against the cat's color and everything, and she put so much into that, and no telling what Grandma was doing in her bedroom with her symbols, her spells, and her herbs. So I think Grandma may have been the problem in this that put this upon the cat. But I don't know. What do you all think? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. And we'll see you on the next one.